Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment's 32 teams, 32 days, and today we're talking about the Indianapolis Colts, and boy, oh boy, do I hate this team as a Tennessee Titans fan, but on paper, I love this team. This is a team that keeps me up at night, that I'm having nightmares about facing this 2019 season. Today we're going to talk about why and then give you my win-loss prediction to end this video. So we're going to start by talking about the Colts' strengths, and we're going to start by talking about their quarterback position. The bane of my existence, Andrew Luck, who appears to maybe unlucky yet again with his injuries. Now a calf-related issue harboring Andrew Luck, and we are monitoring this situation very closely. But if he's on the football field, we know how strong he can be. Last season, 39 touchdowns thrown, 15 interceptions as well, so he's still a very interception-prone quarterback, but 39 passing touchdowns, throwing for over 4,000 passing yards and leading his team to the playoffs, defeating my Tennessee Titans in that Week 17 game to secure the wild card spot. Andrew Luck is a winner in this league, and he's been since his rookie year. It's been terrible to watch for me, but man, the guy is just absolutely fantastic. Again, he needs to watch those interceptions, especially if the Colts want to eventually win the Super Bowl with him, or maybe even multiple. But he's definitely a strength for this football team. And the next strength for this football team is definitely their offensive line. I mean, my goodness, I love Chris Ballard. When the Tennessee Titans were looking for a general manager following the 2015 NFL season, I had Chris Ballard #1 on my list, and we're seeing now why. This guy absolutely transformed the Colts offensive line in pretty much one offseason, drafting Quentin Nelson, bringing in Braden Smith, and just like that, this is one of, if not the best offensive line in the NFL. We've had Anthony Costanza at left tackle for quite a while. We have had Ryan Kelly there for a number of years now. This offensive line is young. It's only going to continue to get better. They continue to protect Andrew Luck, who again, we already know how fantastic he is. This offensive line in Indianapolis is so dangerous. We move on though to the weaknesses for this football team, and honestly, I think every position you can look at and you can say that is decent, but I do think the weakness for this team is its depth. I don't think there is enough depth on this roster. Let's start with the wide receiver position. I love T.Y. Hilton. Devin Funchess, I don't love. They begged him to be a good wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. He never really quite ascended to that. He was pretty good for his 2017 season and then dropped off again in 2018. And then outside of that, Chester Rogers and guys that I'm not sure would make the league if they weren't playing with Andrew Luck. Don't love the wide receiver depth. I do like the running back depth. The quarterback depth with Jacoby Brissett is okay. Offensive line depth, I don't really see it there. We also look at the defensive line, defensive tackles, don't see great depth there. Defensive ends, nothing really beyond Justin Houston and Jabal Sheard. So I think if anything, the depth is the main weakness on this entire roster, but I really don't look at one positional unit on this entire team and I say, okay, that's weakness for this football team. This is a pretty complete and young football team, which is a very, very scary thing. We look at the X factor though for this football team, and it's the running back position. And some people would say this is a weakness for this football team, but I'm not buying that. I've been a fan of Marlon Mack ever since he came out of USF a couple years ago. He had 900 rushing yards last year on 4.7 yards per carry. You combine him with Nyheim Hines, a great receiving back behind him. I like the running backs in Indianapolis, and if Marlon Mack can really prove to be an ascent to being a top 15, top 10 running back, you pair him with Andrew Luck, this offensive line, my goodness, that could really ascend this football team. So the running back position is definitely the X factor for me for this football team. We look at my statistical projections for the Indianapolis Colts this season. Quarterback Andrew Luck, 4,500 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and a 103.0 passer rating. That is right. I think he has even a better year than he had last year. We look at running back Marlon Mack. We have 220 carries, 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So he will surpass 1,000 yards. I don't think he'll get to 1,200. He could get to 1,100. I think Jordan Wilkins and Nyheim Hines, they're going to get some carries. They're going to get, especially Nyheim Hines will be out there for a lot of the third downs. So that will take away from Marlon Mack's production a little bit. But again, this is still improving upon his last season. And then T.Y. Hilton, 80 catches, 1,300 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So maybe not quite as high what some of you were expecting. But you know what? Although I don't love Devin Funchess and Chester Rogers, I do like Paris Campbell, and I think that he will take away from T.Y. Hilton a little bit. I think Andrew Luck will find a nice weapon in him. With that, so move on to my bold predictions for this Indianapolis Colts season. Bold prediction number 1, and I mentioned this earlier, but it's still bold. Andrew Luck plays even better this year than he did last year. Now, this is assuming that this calf injury is able to fix itself. We are monitoring this closely, like I said before. But I expect for him to play week 1. I expect for him to be fine. This is what I'm expecting. Maybe I'm being foolish, maybe I'm being naive, but this is what I'm currently expecting. Bold prediction number 2. Malik Hooker makes his first Pro Bowl. We saw this guy take that next step last season. Let's see that final step to becoming a Pro Bowler this season. I know he can do it. He was such a steal for the Colts in that 2017 NFL draft. Coming out of Ohio State, one of the best free safeties I've ever scouted. I expect him to make that final leap this season. And then bold prediction number 3, assuming, of course, that Andrew Luck is 100%. I got the Colts winning the AFC, and this is a lot to say because this assumes that they finally show up in the playoffs and they play to their capabilities, that they don't get blown out by the New England Patriots, which they've done now a couple of times, and they don't embarrass themselves like they did in Kansas City last year. I think in order to do this, they have to get home field advantage, which I think they will, and I think at home they'll play much better than they have on the road. So with that said, let's get into my win-loss predictions for the Indianapolis Colts. Best case scenario, even 14-2. Again, we need Angel to be healthy, but if he's healthy, again, with the addition of Paris Campbell to this offense, which I think is really going to be the main improvement. Devin Funchess, but we'll see. T.Y. Hilton still doing his thing. This offensive line, like I said, is young, is going to continue to get better, and Marlon Mack being more of a bell cow, not a complete bell cow, but more of a bell cow. And the defense last year finished about 11th in the league. It's going to be top 10. This is a ridiculous combination right now. They could be as high as 14-2 the Indianapolis Colts because they sweep the Titans and they really don't have much problem in the Jaguars in their own division, right? So it could be 14-2 for the Indianapolis Colts. Worst case scenario, it's 10-6, assuming Andrew Luck is healthy. If he's not healthy, then it'll be even lower than this. But we assume health, complete health, as far as what we know, for my worst case and best case scenarios. So worst case scenario, if everyone's healthy, 10-6, and I think even that's a little low, maybe 11-5, honestly. But my prediction is 12-4. I could have easily went 13-3, but I'm going to save that when I'm going to give it to one of the lower teams. That way, that fan base isn't quite mad at me. But trust me, it's probably going to be like 13-3. I mean, this team, it's stacked. It kills me. And we have to see what they're going to do in the playoffs because they choked in the playoffs. But I do think they're probably going to get over that hump. And the one thing I like about the Colts moving forward in the playoffs, the Chiefs, they're not quite as good as they were last year, to me at least. Chargers, they're the same, but will they maintain that level of consistency? We have questions about that. And the Patriots, Tom Brady's 42 damn years old, and at some point this guy has to fall off of his cliff, or at least, regress in terms of his productivity. So this is the time to strike for the Indianapolis Colts, and if they make the Super Bowl, and I'm not saying they're going to win it, but if they make the Super Bowl, even if they lose, this is a great building block for this franchise moving forward. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on the Indianapolis Colts for this 2019 NFL season. What are your thoughts? Comment down below. I want to know. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, to subscribe. And until next time, this has been MJ of Sports Fan Entertainment. I'm out. See you all later.